and one of them was the national carrier, the Bombardiers. We understand we got the Bombardiers already, but still we have an issue with our indebtedness. Then a few weeks ago, the president was actually on a nation-trotting kind of campaign where he was opening up many factories, many industries. But I want us to put into perspective the factories and the industries that are being opened. Do they answer the question of unemployment currently that is in the nation? We are having the biggest population as the youths, and the youth unemployment is a big question that needs to be addressed even up to today. But the president has been opening up these factories, but we want to understand, maybe put it into perspective. The factories that are being opened up and the industries, will they answer the question of unemployment on behalf of the casual laborers or on behalf of the graduates? This is what we're looking at. The opening up of 7 to 10 factories in a week or in a day, does it answer the question of unemployment? This is a conversation you can be a part of course, on Twitter and Facebook. It's NTV Uganda, and we are live from Kampala Conference Center. This is all happening quite a little faster as the president is coming through. The police band is already entertaining as the nation awaits. I'm sure many of you are watching from the other side. Many of you are watching from wherever you are around the world on Facebook. Your feedback is coming in quite a much more great wave. Many Ugandans are expecting much more from the State of Nation address, but on the other side, others seem to be a little, skeptical what could be the president's approach to this. Let's go live to Serena and we see what's happening. Well, there you have it. The president is about to join the members of parliament, the diplomatic corps, and of course at the dignitaries in the nation. He is going to speak to the nation about the state of the nation. This is happening live at Kampala Conference, Serena Conference Center. This is where we are. I understand security has been heightened on all roads leading to, of course, the conference center. The protocol is already showing their signs that the president is just a few minutes away as we await for him to show up and explain to the nation, where we are holding up, and we understand a couple of you are giving us feedback on Twitter and on Facebook. We are going to be sampling a couple of that. Of course, the president is getting in. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to announce that the president is already here. I can see his official cars are already getting into Serena Conference Center's compound. His Excellency, the President of the nation, is already here. He's going to address the nation about the state of affairs, how we are faring in terms of economy, the infrastructure levels, the political lane, and all that. Protocol is at its best at Kampala Serena. As you can see, the President is coming. Let me allow you have the feel of what is currently happening at Kampala Serena Hotel. We're going live on the ground. There you have it. That is our president. The president is already here, as you can see. That is his official car. The president is here, donned, of course, in a yellow tie. He has actually met the vice president, the speaker, the deputy speaker, the Chief Justice, the First Lady is also here, adorned, of course, with adorned in a yellow suit. The President is following protocol. First things first, national anthem is going to be sung, and thereafter we'll proceed. We are live on Facebook, NTV Uganda. The same applies on YouTube. You can tell a friend to tell a friend. You can follow these proceedings. The national anthem.
policy face more attractive without influencing its work. In this strategic plan, policy for Agriculture, the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income in 2017. The policy is intended to protect taxpayers from double taxation and prevent disparagement.
Well, there you have it. His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni just made his way, of course, to Kampala Serena Conference Center, and we had the national anthem sung. Of course, we had the East African anthem as well, being sung. Well, the State of the Nation address today will be followed by, of course, the reading of the national budget in the fiscal year of 2019-2020. That will be on Thursday next week, of course, at the same venue there. But well, President Museveni today, from the look of things, is likely to be disappointed with economic growth for 2018-2019 fiscal year, which registered a slightly slowdown based on the preliminary figures which were released by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. That was on Friday last week. So we are hoping the president this time around is going to be a little bit much more explaining what could have caused this. Well, the economic growth of 2018-2019 currently, according to the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics, says it's on at 0.1%, points lower than last year's growth. That was from 6.2% in the fiscal year 2017-2018 to 6.1%. While a decline in the growth indicates that the economy is entering a contraction stage, if I can put it that way, as a result of the slower global growth rate and, of course, the regional geopolitical border tensions, mainly between Uganda and Rwanda, which is, of course, affecting the regional trade. So today, as the president is addressing all these issues are expected to actually come through back and forth. And of course, the preliminary figures from the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics show that the industrial sector as well registered a slower growth rate of 5.8% in 2018-2019 compared to the 6.1% recorded in 2017-2018 fiscal year. The service sector, which has become the leading sector of Uganda's economy, contributing about 50% of Uganda's gross domestic product, also registered a decline. So preliminary figures indicate that it has registered a slightly slower growth rate at 7.2% compared to the 7.8% in the 2017-2018 fiscal year. Agriculture, which is the backbone of Uganda's economy, has seen its share in the GDP dropping in the recent years to 24%. Well, this is something that is much more serious, and we should take it with a lot of caution. As you can see, the head of state is making his way into Kampala, Serena, into the parliament, if I should put it that way. You can see the speaker there, the first lady, and of course the president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, making his way into the parliament today. He's going to address the nation. about what is currently happening, the state of affairs in the nation. However, just to bring you to speed, Uganda Bureau of Statistics clarified that the figures are still preliminaries, that the final figures on the performance of Uganda's economy will be released in October this very year. But remember, the International Monetary Fund said in its updated World Economic Outlook for 2019 that the global economy is projected to actually expand by 3.3% in 2019, resulting into a slower growth rate in the emerging and developing economies. Well, the president is going to be updating us about that. We can see that he's making his way to his rightful seat. I can see the Chief Justice is already here. I see the Speaker of Parliament and a couple of other dignitaries are here. But we earlier on saw there is a portion where the opposition should possibly be seated, but the opposition seems to be absent. A big number of them seem to be absent to hear what the president is going to actually address today. I can see the public gallery on the other side as people are also waiting to hear what the proceedings are going to be like. Let's get into the parliament and we see what's happening.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity. We beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled,
and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, so as to promote your honor and glory and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Item 3 on the order paper, proclamation by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament of Uganda.
This is the proclamation by the Speaker of Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Whereas under Article 95(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, a session of Parliament shall be held at such place within Uganda and shall commence at such time as the Speaker may by proclamation appoint. And whereas the third session of the 10th Parliament commenced on the 6th day of June 2018, and further, whereas the President of the Republic of Uganda is required under Article 101, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution to deliver to Parliament an address on the state of the nation at the beginning of each session, aware that it is expedient that Parliament receives the State of the Nation address from the President at the Kampala Serena Conference Centre. Now, therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred upon the Speaker by Article 95, Subclause 2 of the Constitution, I hereby proclaim that Parliament shall sit at the Kampala Serena Conference Centre on the 6th day of June 2019 at 1400 hours to receive the State of the Nation address from the President. And further, in exercise of the powers conferred upon the Speaker by the Constitution, the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 258, and the Rules of Procedure of the Parliament of Uganda, it is hereby proclaimed and declared that the said Kampala Serena Conference Centre, including its forecourt, the yard, and the gardens, be places of the Parliament for the aforementioned purpose, given under my hand at Parliament House, Kampala, on the 27th day of May 2019, signed Rebecca Kadaga, Speaker of Parliament.
Item 4 on the order paper, communication from the Chair.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda and Mrs. Museveni, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Mr. Edward Sekandi, my Lord, the Chief Justice of Uganda, my Lord, the Deputy Chief Justice, the Honourable Vice Chairperson of the NRM, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, Leader of Government Business, the Deputy Prime Ministers, Honourable Ministers, Honourable the Leader of the Opposition in Parliament, Honourable Ministers of State, Justice of the Supreme, the Court of Appeal and the High Court, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honourable Members of Parliament, the traditional leaders, religious leaders, Head of the Public Service and Secretary to the Cabinet, Chief of Defence Forces, the Inspector General of Police, Commissioner General of Prisons, and all invited guests. I welcome you all to this important event, which marks the official opening of the 4th session of the 10th Parliament. Your Excellency and our guests, it is a pleasure for us to inform you that we have in our midst special guests from the region. We have the Honourable Anthony Lino, the Speaker of the South Sudan Legislative Assembly. If you could stand up. We have Senator Ndikurio, President of the Senate of Burundi. Welcome. We have Senator Dr. Lelegwe Steve, MP for Lumbesi, member of the Speaker's Panel of the Senate of Kenya, representing Honourable Lusaka.
Legislative Assembly, presenting Right Honourable Ngoga, Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, who have not been able to come. We have apologies from Right Honourable Muturi, the Speaker of the National
Assembly of Kenya, Speaker Njabenda of the Parliament of Burundi, the Senate President, the House Speaker of Rwanda, both of whom could not come, and also another apology from the Speaker of the Federal Republic of Somalia, who give their regards to you but have not been able to join you. Distinguished guests, during this function, His Excellency the President will highlight the activities and achievements of the government during the previous year, and will present to Parliament the plans, programs, and strategies that government intends to pursue during this fourth session. Since the last State of the Nation address, Parliament and committees have handled considerable business. In comparative terms, I'm glad to inform Your Excellency and the public that during the third session, Parliament has exhibited very good performance, partly because of the realignment of a parliamentary program, whereby the first meeting was assigned to handle bills, the second was assigned to handle reports of sector and standing committees, and the third was dedicated to handle budget matters and other bills that may have spilled over from the first meeting. The second reason was that there was more dedication to work of Parliament exhibited by the members. There has also been improved attendance of Parliament and also at the committees. I thank the members for this marked improvement. Your Excellency and distinguished guests, in terms of legislation, this Parliament during this session has surpassed all other parliaments in that we enacted 26 bills as compared to 11 in the first session and 17 in the second session. We had the highest number in the region. Your Excellency and colleagues, 4 bills are withdrawn. If you look at page 32 of the program, you'll find the bills that were withdrawn. But I want to express my disappointment that in a number of areas, there was obvious manifestation of lack of adequate preparedness and consultation with stakeholders at formulation stage of these bills, and this wasted a lot of Parliament's time. I'm particularly disturbed by the failure by government to process beyond the second reading the Kampala Capital City Authority Amendment Bill since 2015. I want to advise that in future, bills requiring Parliament's consideration be adequately researched upon, and sufficient stakeholder participation and involvement by various ministries sponsoring the bills be conducted before Cabinet approval and subsequent submission to Parliament. Indeed, Your Excellency, our colleagues in the House of Commons and the government of Her Majesty the Queen begin by presenting to the public the intention to bring a particular bill before it is introduced to the public and stakeholders before the first reading. In terms of oversight, Parliament registered marked improvement compared to the previous sessions. Parliament was able to handle the following. Resolutions authorizing government to borrow were 16. Other resolutions were 23. Ministerial statements considered 51. Urgent questions responded to 208. And these relate to the area of representation when members bring up the issues from their constituencies. Questions for oral answer, 18. Questions responded to during Prime Minister's time are 130. We adopted 45 committee reports. A number of members, 11 of them, made statements. The Committee on Public Accounts, Commission Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises needs special mention for the commendable work done during this last session. The Committee on Public Accounts, Local Government, was able to handle a backlog of reports from the Auditor General for local governments from the years 2010, 2011 to 2014, 2015. In addition, the Committee on Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises delved deeper into demanding for accountability by exposing, among others, governance issues on the closure of commercial banks. The committee made far-reaching recommendations which, if implemented, will greatly improve supervision and management of commercial banks by the central bank. At the international level, members of Parliament have effectively engaged in parliamentary diplomacy at fora like the Interparliamentary Union, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, European Union, African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, Joint Assembly, at the Pan-African Parliament, among others, and Uganda has been well represented. Your Excellency, as I reported to you with my colleagues earlier in the year, Parliament is scheduled to host the 64th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference and related meetings from 22nd to 29th September 2019 in Kampala. The request to host was granted because of the impact and presence, track record and respect that Parliament of Uganda has garnered at the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association over the years. Indeed, overwhelming support was given to Uganda to host this conference, and Your Excellency, we last hosted this conference 52 years ago in 1967. I'm sure many members here were not even born. This is our opportunity to market Uganda to the new generation of members of the Commonwealth and other citizens of the world. The meeting will include the General Assembly, Executive Committee, small branches, Commonwealth women parliamentarians, meetings of the clerks and secretary generals, and we have a dedicated team of members and staff who are handling the preparations, and I'm confident that we shall successfully host this international event. By hosting over 1,000 delegates coming from 54 Commonwealth countries, we shall attract international publicity as well as benefit economically in terms of advertising, marketing, hotels, investment opportunities, and tourist attractions. Your Excellency, during this session, Parliament hosted important dignitaries, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and on behalf of Parliament, I want to congratulate him on his landslide victory in the recently concluded elections. We also hosted the Speaker of Hungary, Dr. Laszlo Koza, and also the Speaker of the Serbian Parliament, Honourable Maja Kojovic, among others. We received 50 delegations from 25 countries across the world, including the United States of America, Austria, France, Angola, and China. Many parliaments have visited to share and learn experiences from our work. We thank you, Your Excellency, for creating an enabling environment of peace and stability that has attracted other countries and parliamentarians to visit Uganda with a lot of confidence. In a special way, we want to thank you for inviting Prime Minister Narendra Modi to officially visit Uganda and to speak to the country and the world from Parliament of Uganda. Your Excellency, Parliament of Uganda enjoys good working relations with the watchdog agencies which report to Parliament, like the Auditor General, the Inspectorate of Government, the Human Rights Commission, and the others. Also, the Speaker and Parliament will continue to engage with institutions with the view of working out better strategies of enforcing accountability by providing an independent assurance of the use of public resources, fighting corruption, abuse of authority and of public office, and effecting measures to promote human rights in Uganda. Your Excellency, since the Sixth Parliament, honourable members and the general public have been engaged in the discussion of Article 82 of the Constitution, which concerns officers of the Speaker of Parliament. The issue of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker as the only officials to preside over Parliament needs to be reviewed. We need to go back to the drawing board and critically look at this issue, bearing in mind the practice of other parliaments with regard to this issue. In other jurisdictions, speakers are supported by a panel of chairpersons, and you have just met the member of the panel from the Kenya Senate, and they assist in handling part of the work. Your Excellency, I have received a number of reports that despite my drawing attention to the accounting officers on the need not to fund committees of the House, which are irregular, some ministries and agencies have continued to do so. I reiterate that the Parliamentary Commission has a budget for the activities of the committees of Parliament and therefore do not require additional funding from ministries, departments or agencies. In future, such abuse by accounting officers will be reported to the Head of Public Service and Secretary of the Cabinet for stern and deterrent measures, and I've written to him as well as sent copies to all the accounting officers about this activity. Your Excellency, the fourth session has commenced, and this means that effectively Parliament will in reality transact business for a limited period. This is because the roadmap for the next election is already out, when the members are usually uncomfortable around this time and their focus on what is happening in their constituencies. It is therefore necessary that the Executive brings forward all the business it deems important within the first 2 months so that it can be processed by committees and later considered by the House. I urge the leader of government business to expedite the process, especially the electoral reforms, to be considered and passed in good time. They may involve the need to budget for additional resources. Therefore, Parliament should not be made to firefight and be stampeded by late presentation of bills by government. The Parliament has continued to engage the public in the activities in Kampala and other parts of the country. We have carried out field visits, as well as engaged the public on various bills, policies and programs with the view of seeking input of the citizens. Your Excellency, one of the new innovations we intend to introduce is an application whereby the public will be able to make comments on the bills and the businesses before the House, so that we can get their feedback even if they don't come physically to the Parliament. We have also conducted the following: the Speaker's Outreach Program, the Parliament Health Week, the Science and Technology Week, the Parliament Week. We have partnered with various agencies to highlight the work they do and exhibit products and innovations. For instance, 3 weeks ago, Parliament, in partnership with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives and the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act Secretariat, presented to us, and they exhibited a number of products that have a potential for market in America. All these efforts are geared at taking Parliament closer to the people. I want to assure Your Excellency that Ugandans are very, very innovative, they're very creative. If you see some of the products that they exhibited, they just need some focus policy support to be able to enter the US market and other markets. Your Excellency, I would like to thank you and the government for the resources that have been availed to Parliament for us to operate. Without the financial support, what I've spoken above would not have been possible. A few of our members have not been able to join us today because they are indisposed. The Honourable Kitata Abud is recovering from an operation. The Honourable Mary Kabanda, the District Woman MP of Masaka, is also in hospital. Honourable William Nokrach is also in hospital. Honourable Abacha Chonchas Angiro Gutamoy is recovering from, I think, the 4th accident. Honourable Judith Bavidie is also unwell. And Honourable Regan Okumu has just returned from India, where he underwent 2 major surgeries. Members, as the practice, the business which Parliament had before the committees were prorogued has been saved. So there's no shortage of work. I call upon the whips to expedite the process of assigning members to committees in line with the rules of procedure. On my part, I would, as usual, assign the independent members to the committees. On behalf of Parliament, I welcome you all to the State of the Nation address and appreciate your kind response to our invitation. Thank you very much.
Item 5 on the order paper, invitation by the Right Honourable Speaker to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda to deliver the State of the Nation address to Parliament.
Whereas under Article 101, Clause 1 of the Constitution, the President is required to deliver to Parliament an address on the State of the Nation at the beginning of every session. And whereas the Speaker has just proclaimed the commencement of the 4th session of the 10th Parliament of Uganda. Now, therefore, Speaker, I now invite His Excellency the President to deliver to Parliament an address on the State of the Nation on this 6th day of June 2019. Your Excellency, I welcome you to address the Parliament and the country.
The Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, His Lordship the Deputy Chief Justice, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Deputy Prime Ministers, the Right Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Their Highnesses the Traditional Leaders, our ministers, our members of parliament, honorable members of the IALA, East African Legislative Assembly, members of the Diplomat Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Speaker, in fulfillment of the constitutional requirement under Article 101, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I'm here to deliver the State of the Nation Address 2019. Madam Speaker, since my last address, a number of well-known Ugandans and other Ugandans who are not so well-known have departed from this earth, some of whom are, of course, these are the well-known. The late Professor Apollo Sibambi, the late Honourable Colonel Ibrahim Abiriga, the late Right Reverend Mamose, the late Right Reverend Salimo, the late Assistant Superintendent of Police Mohammed Chirumira, the late Ambassador Julius Onen, more than 31 people who died when a party boat capsized on Lake Victoria, the 4 Kenyan pilgrims who were knocked by a hit-and-run car when coming to Uganda for Mother's Day, some Bududa people who lost lives in the mudslide just last night, I was told, and many others. Madam Speaker, I request that we all stand up and observe a moment of silence in memory of the departed persons. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Sit down. Before I forget, I would like the Minister of East Africa to get in touch with these families from Kenya whose people died when coming for the pilgrimage, so that we support them, support those families. Well, I don't govern South Sudan. You know, I am here in Uganda. No, these Kenyans died here, died under our authority. You know, rationality is a requirement of Parliament. You must be rational. You can't be. I'm sure irrationality is not part of parliamentary procedure. Today is the 6th of June, 2019. The 6th of June, 1944 was the date on which Allies in the Second World War executed an amphibious landing in German-occupied France at Normandy beaches. Even now they are there celebrating that event. Her Majesty the Queen, President Trump and the others, they are there. This was 3 months before I was born. The 6th of June, 1981, aged 36 years and leading the Popular Resistance Army, I departed from Matuga by car, passed through Buama Trading Center, and embarked into a boat at Katebo landing site to cross the more than 200 miles lake to Kenya, to proceed to Libya to look for the weapons of the struggle. Today, the 6th of June 2019, here we are on the occasion of the State of the Nation address. There is something interesting about the 6th of June. The NRM government remains committed to ensuring a secure and peaceful Uganda. This has come about by promoting and upholding patriotism, democracy, and good governance as core values for national socio-economic transformation. Significant focus has been placed on professionalizing and modernizing the Uganda People's Defense Forces and building the Uganda Police Force and their capabilities. Some months ago, killers, robbers, and rapists had intensified their activities. They were committing these crimes with impunity because the police had been infiltrated by criminals and people who had been compromised in some ways. The National Security Council reviewed that situation and came to some conclusions. I addressed a special sitting of Parliament on the 20th of June 2018, where I outlined the measures we had decided to take to cope with the heightened crime. A number of those measures are being implemented. As I assured the country, that crime wave will be defeated. UPDF works with other security agencies to deter or curtail any acts of lawlessness. The recent peaceful holding of the Martyrs' Day, where an estimated 3 million people turned up, showed that the police and the UPDF already have good capacity. That event of Namugongo, for people who know something about security, is quite challenging because there is a large number of people coming, some walking on foot, and it is pre-publicized. Everybody knows that on those days, everybody knows that on those days there will be a big function. So therefore, terrorists of all types would want to do something, but our capacity is good, and for the last 33 years, nothing has ever happened at Namugongo. Between 1986 and 2015, the economy grew at an annual average rate of 6.9%, 6.92%, while per capita income grew at an annual average rate of 3.6% over the same period. No European country, not even the United States, except West Germany, between 1950 and 1980, which was able to do 3.8%, has grown its per capita income at the same rate as Uganda over a period of 3 decades. Abagala kwetuga betuge naye gano ono yebuuno. This is the fact. I may repeat. No European country, not even the United States, except for West Germany, between 1950 and 1980, I'm not talking about today and yesterday, the whole period. In 1980, Germany grew by 3.8%. No other country in Europe has grown its per capita income at the same rate as Uganda over a period of 3 decades. Only East Asian tigers sustained per capita growth of 5.6% during their intense period of transformation between 1960 and 1990. The growth of the per capita income at such high rate was in spite of the high rates of population growth of 3.3% per annum. So the population was growing, but nevertheless the economy was growing much faster. And those are the figures. In order to put this issue in perspective, Ugandans should be informed that between 1951 and 1961, during the colonial system, GDP per capita grew by 0.14%. Between 1962 and 1970, it grew by 1.4%. Between 1971 and 1980, it declined by minus 2.9%. And between 1982 and 1985, it grew only by 0.8%. Between 1986 and 1995, it grew by 2.8%. And between 1996 and 2009, it grew by 3.6%. This is per capita, how each Ugandan is getting better off. The other figure which you normally hear is the figure of the whole economy growing. But this is per capita, per person. Well, you may want to handle yourself if you, it's an option, but these are the facts. These are the facts. All this, in spite of the strategic bottlenecks, such as shortage of electricity and high transport costs that were not yet addressed at that time. Note that per capita income is GDP growth minus population growth. You remove the rate of growth of the population, then what you remain is GDP per capita. To put it in a global context, between 1986 and 2015, Uganda was the 17th fastest growing economy in the whole world. It was the 4th in Africa. If we remove mineral-rich countries from the sample, because they were enjoying, was 11th in the whole world and the 1st in Africa. This speech will be printed and every member will get a copy. And if you have got appetite to read it, it is here, and you can go and cross-check if you want. So what this means is that Uganda is about the only African country which has been having a high rates of growth without oil and without minerals. We have the minerals, we have the oil, but we have not yet used them. So they are not part of this equation. We have been using non-oil, non-mineral capacity. And in spite of many bottlenecks, in spite of things which we have not done, but here you are. This is written in good English. And those who can read will read. This achievement is more impressive because Uganda was in a civil war from 1986 to 2005. The country is surrounded by the Sudan to the north, which was in a civil war for the first 20 years of Uganda's growth, 1986 to 2005. To the west is Congo, DRC, which has been in civil war between 1986 to now. To the south is Rwanda, which was in civil war between 1990 and 1994. To the east is Kenya, which was stagnating economically between 1986 and 2002. The size of the economy is now shillings 109 trillion.7. This is in the financial year 2018-2019. This is equivalent to US dollars 29.5 billion. The income per person is now equivalent to US dollars 800. Although this is below the level required to attain the middle income status, the renewed impetus of the economy and the large economic base being created will catapult the economy to prosperity within a short period in the future. Which is the one whereby you get the size of the economy in shillings and you divide by the exchange rate of that time. This is the figure. Method. By that method, the economy is now much bigger. Whereby growth and development outlook is positive, with the economy predicted to grow at least 7% in the medium term, but could even be higher given that we have now sorted out the key constraints to growth. The basis for this very positive outlook is the following. Number one, industrialization to promote exports using primarily agriculture as the base. This includes industrialization along the agricultural value chain, light manufacturing, and processing of our minerals into finished products, and further diversification of the manufacturing sector to increase exports. Because our problem now is that we are importing too much. We are importing things we should not be importing. And if you were to look at this room here, it is really a foreign market. What people are putting on, the suits, the shoes. Now, that's what we want to sort out. Two, increase production and productivity in the agricultural sector by investing in quality inputs, extension services, storage facilities, access to markets by improving standards and quality of agro-processing. The government is also boosting the capital base of UDB to be able to lend to agriculture as well as small-scale industry. In addition, the government is implementing targeted intervention in the coffee sector, for instance, the Coffee Roadmap 2020, the tea sector, and the fruit growing and processing sector, e.g. the Solid Fruit Factory, and the supporting agricultural zoning and our grower model around the nucleus farms. We are also working on stabilizing agriculture through irrigation. Three, the commencement of oil and gas production and work on the oil pipeline and the refinery will be starting soon. Four, strengthening local content so that Ugandans can be integrated into wealth creation as the economy expands, including improving local production and supply capacities. Five, improving efficiency in the execution of public investments to improve the returns on investment, especially in the areas of energy, transport, agriculture, tourism, water for consumption and production, and in education. Sixth, harnessing the benefits of regional integration through trade and strengthening intra-African trade. Seven, improving labor productivity through skills development tailored to labor market demand. Therefore, a firm foundation for industrialization and especially manufacturing has been laid. We now have the fruit industry in Teso and Ruero, the dairy industry in Ankole, the vegetable oil industry, palm oil industry in Karangara, the tea industry in Toro and the Kijiji sub-regions, etc., etc. If you go area by area, people are beginning to listen to our message of specializing in some commercial activities in agriculture. In addition, Operation Wealth Creation has increased the supply and distribution of tea seedlings in the region. In the north, government has taken up a 32% stake in Atiak Sugar Factory, which has a nucleus farm and an auto-grower scheme, which will create jobs and promote agro-industrialization in the region. I want to salute the people of Atiak. The people of Atiak know something we call in our language, Donglobo. They know Donglobo. Donglobo is a development. And they know also Lonyo. some of the other people are not so clear about those issues. Government, we have got a huge tea estate, sugar estate coming up there in Atiak, developed by one of our people, one of our investors, Amina. And the people are growing we are helping them to grow sugar cane. Government is prioritizing investment in industrial parks to support industrialization and create jobs. There is also another industrial center which is coming up in a place called Lakang. Lakang is nearby. It is in a place called Lamogi. That one has delayed a bit because we had to sort out some local obstacles, but we never fail. In the end, we have sorted them out. So we are actually going to have two big factories in Amuru, sugar factory, one in Lakang and the other one in Atiak. And then the area of Moya, if you go there, people are really waking up. Big farms are coming up. You will see things are moving. Government is prioritizing investment in industrial parks to support industrialization and create jobs. Notable progress has been made in Kapeka Industrial Park, where manufacturing of tires and other products is already on. Kampala Industrial and Business Park, where construction and provision of various utilities is soon starting. Kabale and Mbali Industrial Parks, where work is ongoing, etc. So far, there are 284 new factories already in the industrial park at Namanzi. 11 in Ruzira Industrial Park, 10 in Weyogeri Industrial Estate. When we started UMA, Uganda Manufacturers Association, we had only 80 factories, but now we are talking of 4,900. I can organize conducted tours for those who are interested. Then you come with video, you video. It is quite entertaining, and it will cure the blood pressure of some of the people. Because some people for those who are interested. Then you come with video, you video. It is quite entertaining, and it will cure the blood pressure of some of the people. Because some people give themselves blood pressure. I am giving you a medical opinion. As regards international trade, our exports revenue of goods and services grew by 8.2% in 2018-2019, amounting to $7 billion. That is 3.8 billion being earned from goods, export of goods, 1.89 billion from services, and 1.3 billion from remittances of Ugandans abroad. However, the total import bill for goods and services is still higher, although the gap is narrowing. It is now at 8.8 billion, creating a trade deficit of US dollars $1.86 billion. Under the 2020 coffee roadmap, which I launched a few years ago, the volume of coffee exports reached 4.5 million bags in the financial year 2017-2018, earning the country US dollars $492 million. The volume went up, but the price came down, but the volume is going up. We used to be at 2 million bags of coffee. We are now at 4.5 million bags. Light industrial goods exports fetched US dollars $382 million, while the tourism revenues amounted to US dollars $1 billion in the same year. If we can increase production per hectare of coffee, as an example, from the current 0.67 tons per hectare to 2.2 tons per hectare like in Brazil and Vietnam, Uganda would be earning about US dollars $2 billion from unprocessed coffee alone, if we export it unprocessed. At 2.2 tons per hectare, Uganda would produce 21 million bags of green coffee. And if this coffee was roasted here, roasting alone, Uganda would fetch US dollars $6.7 billion from coffee alone. But if it was transformed into soluble instant coffee, would then generate US dollars $16.8 billion for the country. This is possible. So we are not only promoting growing more coffee and increasing yields per hectare, because our farmers are underusing their land, getting 0.67 of a ton from 1 hectare, when the Vietnamese and the Brazilians are getting 2.2 tons per hectare. This is not correct. And our conditions are much better in many cases. So it is a question of working up our people and the technocrats to guide our people well. We just need to be better organized and focused on distribution of better seedlings, better harvesting methods, post-harvest handling methods, and storage. We are going to process much of this coffee. By processing 60,000 tons of coffee per year by one of our investors, Madam Enrica Pinetti's factory, this coffee only, the 60,000, will earn US dollars 333 million. And that investor is already on the ground in Namamve, and she's the same investor who is involved in the hospital, the other hospital in Hydropower. The people who don't wash things well in Africa are given not a complimentary name, suffering from Nyeko, the acceleration of the economic growth is partly due to the correct decision we took in 2006 of prioritizing roads and electricity, the details of which I will give later in this speech. Those who were in the Parliament of 2006, I want to congratulate them because they listened to my advice. They are quite historical, those who were in the Parliament in 2006. The few who are here will be very proud. Because when I travel on these brand new roads, you travel on a tarmac road from Oraba on the Sudan border all the way to Chisoro. Or from Moroto all the way to Bundubujo. It was the work of that parliament, because when I brought the proposal of putting more money on the roads and more money on power, they supported it. Whatever man sows, that's what he reaps. That's what we say in the Bible. So this parliament, you should also be proud of something. And I will tell you what it is. Oh, that one is also there. But there are some other things which I will bring to you. Although full rationalization of the results of this prioritization have not been fully realized, especially in connection with lower transport costs and the cost of electricity. The mere awareness that there are better roads and more abundant electricity is already causing a flood of investments. Investments are really flooding into the economy. Our efforts to promote regional integration and inter-African trade are yielding the desired results. Uganda now exports more to Africa than the rest of the world, with 63% of export to Africa in financial year 2017-2018, compared to only 27% 10 years ago. Exports to Asia have increased to 18% now, compared to only 13% 10 years ago. Domestic revenue in the financial year 2017-2018 amounted to $15.5 trillion. This is about 15% of GDP. Next financial year, 2019-2020, we plan to collect Uganda shillings 19.6 trillion, equivalent to 16.1% of GDP. The government is implementing a plan to boost our domestic revenue collection to about 18% of GDP. This will narrow the gap between what we spend and what we collect in domestic revenue, and in the process reduce the need for government to borrow from the domestic market and also from outside. This will allow government to finance a larger share of its investments using our domestically generated resources. The high cost of capital remains, because you see our ways of doing things are the guerrilla way, the Chiekera way. That's how we work, step by step, not trying to deceive ourselves that we can solve all problems at the same time. We are now targeting good roads, and you are seeing this. We have been targeting more electricity, but also cheaper electricity. We are targeting cheaper transport costs by the railway. Now that we then remain with the cost of money, cost of the interest rates of borrowing in the banks. So I would appeal to the leaders here to really know that things don't happen by miracle, they happen by action. What we do is what decides what happens. So that struggle to bring down the cost of electricity, the cost of transport, the good roads are good, but they cannot bring down transport costs very, very much, because road transport is more expensive than railway transport and water transport. So, in terms of building the economic base, it is electricity, abundant and cheap, at least for manufacturing. I don't mind about the nightclubs, those can pay more. But manufacturing, the transport costs, the railway, the internet is already much cheaper than it was. And then the transport costs, and now I'm talking about the cost of money, of borrowing. The high cost of capital remains a major challenge to the economy as a whole. To address this challenge, the government is capitalizing Uganda Development Bank. So far, we have capitalized UDB up to Uganda shillings 272 billion, of which 53 billion has been provided this financial year. Next year, 2019-2020, the government is providing an additional US $103 billion to bring the total to Uganda shillings 375 billion. On top of this, government guaranteed loans of US $15 million and US $5 million from African Development Bank and Exim Bank of India, respectively, for the SMEs, small medium enterprises. We should borrow less domestically because this increases interest rates and crowds out the private sector when government domestic borrowing is excessive. The cost of doing business is still high in Uganda. To address this challenge, the government will continue to prioritize infrastructure by investing in energy, transport, water, and ICT. The cost of electricity per unit used to be US $10.62. It is now US $7.9 US cents. 7.91 per unit. I intend to bring it down to US cents 5 per kilowatt hour for manufacturing. The modernization of the railway system by building the standard gauge railway will bring down the cost of transport per 40-foot container from US $3,456 by road from Mombasa to US $1,800 per container using the standard gauge railway. Even by repairing the old meter gauge railway, the cost of transport goes down to US $2,016 from $3,400. So you save more than $1,400 if you use even the old railway per container of 40 feet, if you use the railway rather than using the road. Agriculture remains the main thrust of Uganda's economic growth. The sector contributes 25% to national GDP and employs over 70% of the population. In my zonal tours, I've been telling Ugandans that there are only 4 sectors for wealth and job creation. The 4 sectors are commercial agriculture, industries big or small, services such as hotels, transport, professional services, shops, and ICT, such as BPOs. In order to rationalize, to regionalize the delivery of water for agriculture across the country, government opened up regional mechanization centers in southwestern region at Boama and northeastern region at Agwata. Using acquired heavy earth moving equipment, government constructed and rehabilitated valley tanks in the drought and cattle corridor districts countrywide. The number of valley tanks increased by 83 from 155 in December 2017 to 238 in December 2018, with a total holding capacity of 9,245,000 cubic meters of water, up from 8 million cubic meters of water. This has improved the number of farmers accessing and utilizing water for irrigation and for aquaculture and livestock. The irrigation schemes constructed or planned or repaired are the following: Doho 1 irrigation scheme, Mobuku irrigation scheme. Where they are is here, but talking to members of parliament, I assume they are more informed. Lamo, Agoro, Olwey, Doho 2, Mobuku 2, Wadelai, Tochi, Nenge, Ruengaju, Atar, Sironko Achomai, Matanda, Pabo, Namalu, Labor, Olom, Biso. All those are irrigation schemes either already implemented or being planned. On the side of dams, the big ones are Kodukul, Omatenga, Ongore, Nakiloro, Kailong, Kobebe, Arechet, Longlimit, Kawomeri, Kimira Njoga, that would be in Nyankore. Kimira Njoga, Kagango, Madera, Akwera, Achulawich, Alango, Lei, Kakinga, Maikaro. I don't know, Maikaro then, if it is Zimbabwe. To boost agriculture mechanization, 280 tractors were procured and distributed to farmer groups. The government intended to procure an additional 1,000 tractors in financial year 2019-2020. We can acquire more tractors if we get good people who can look after them, who can use them properly. And in my tour, I was discussing with the leaders. I have some ideas which I will put to the cabinet. Government has enhanced the production of key strategic commodities for exports and domestic value addition. Palm oil, an important substitution commodity. Oil palm production in Karangara has increased and is steadily improving farmers' incomes and livelihoods. In financial year 2016-2017, farmers harvested 24,000 metric tons, valued at 13.4 billion shillings. While in 2017-2018, farmers harvested 37,000 metric tons, valued at Uganda shillings 21.4 billion. That was a growth of 36%. On average, the 1,199 palm oil farmers with mature gardens earned Uganda shillings 1.9 billion each month in 2018, up from Uganda shillings 1.3 billion each month in the calendar year 2017. When I last went to Karangara, the people there told me that in our local language there, nti abamu getara banatera okusenguka. That's what they told me. They said that the people who are selling paraffin will have to go away because they no longer have a market here. Because they have money, they are now able to have solar power, so they no longer need paraffin. I was told by the spokesman. So people are just shouting and wasting time. If you really care about your people, there are ways you can help them wherever you are. You don't have to be in the government to help your people. In 1966, I hear people are going around wasting time. DP. DP without Museveni is not there. Because Museveni was the DP, was the real DP. Even UPC, I joined UPC briefly for 5 months. And I tried to help our elder, but his people were not helping him, so we had to do other things. Now, in 1966, when I was 21, and in DP, that's when I launched the efforts in our area there, Chiruhura. If you come there, you will find that people are no longer staying in grass-like houses. But that effort started when I was actually in the opposition. But I was able to work with even the UPC people. I went to Wandegea to see Mzeba Babiha with some elders, and he supported us. So if you claim that you are this, but you don't care about the income of your people, you are nothing. I'm telling you. Because you don't have to wait to be in the government to help your people. I helped my people when I was in DP. And UPC was very dangerous. It's not like here where you... UPC was very dangerous. It's not like now when you can abuse, you can shout, you can put up your legs. So please don't tell me that because you are not NRM, you can't help your people. Rubbish. You are useless. I'm telling you. And I'm telling you on good authority, because I was in opposition for actually most of the time. It is only recently when I've also been on this side. Because when I was doing much of the work, I was actually in the opposition. Building the NRA, building all the capacity, most of the capacity we built it when we were on the opposition. You are only building a disruption. But for me, I was building wealth for my people. And I can invite you, you see. So, like this Kalangara, the people of Kalangara have totally changed, and I want to thank those people who helped me with that project, like Mzee Sendaura, who was Minister of Finance at that time, because it was a big struggle. I don't remember whom we were fighting. They were against it. I don't remember who was against it. It was a struggle until we got it. So it is helping. Kalangara is totally changed. The other day when I went to the ferry from Masaka, we waited for our vehicles to go on the ferry. Then one of our local people said, "Katwanu jamu." Katwanu jamu. You know how our people speak, meaning that now Kalangara has got so many vehicles, it has got a traffic jam. So we have to wait for a long time because there are so many vehicles. And in Kalangara they had no vehicles. They never saw vehicles. But it has totally changed now. Cotton, linked bales of cotton increased from 151,000 to 202,000 in 2018. As a result, the contribution of cotton to household incomes rose from Uganda shillings 136 billion to 188 billion, 2018. You know me, I don't support cotton for the smaller people. But the big ones like Moses Adi and others, and even me, I can join to grow cotton for the country. So I invite the big people to grow the cotton for the country. But for my smaller people, the ones of 4 acres, 1 acre, please. I don't want to hear about cotton. Because the cotton only makes money if you do it on a big scale. And that's why I want to go to Kasese and discuss with the farmers there, because they are not, nobody discusses with them seriously. I want to go and discuss with them whether they should continue with cotton or whether they should do, because cotton only makes money if you do it on a big scale. Like Moses said, is adding to wealth on wealth. He's already rich, but he's adding on and on. If you go to Ajumani, because when we were in Ajumani, we calculated that after costs in 1 acre, you may end up with 1.1 million shillings in a year. So if you have got only 2 acres, 1 acre is for food, you only have only 1 acre for money, how will you manage? But if you have got 10 acres, that's 11 million. It's not bad. Net, after you have removed cost. Then if it is 100 acres, that is 100 million. If it is 1,000 acres, actually you get 1 point something billion. You can get billion shillings from net, from cotton, but you need to do it on a big scale. And this is where the leaders are really letting down their people, not helping them to select enterprises which have got maximum returns. You just let the people just do this, try on their own. They are not able to decide properly because they are not, many of them are not educated. So cotton, I encourage it, but it should be grown by the medium and large scale. The other people concentrate on the crops which I am going around telling the people. I don't want to waste the time of the big people here, because for you know what to do. When I'm down there with my smaller people, I spend a lot of time teaching them on what to do. Lint exports also rose from US dollars 42 million 2017 to $54 million 2018. However, we intend to convert all this cotton to fabric, weaving, earning more dollars and creating more jobs. Milk annual production increased from 2 billion liters in 2015 to 2.5 billion liters in 2018, and is projected to increase to 3.35 billion liters by the end of 2019. The value of marketed milk has increased by 15% from $716 million in 2015 to $850 million in 2018. The export earnings of milk and milk products now stand at $79 million per annum. This increase in milk products is in spite of still using the old method of free-range grazing, which is called Kusetura. I'm launching a campaign to change this. We must go from free-range to zero grazing so that the planted pasture is not disturbed by the cattle trampling on it. With free range, a square mile supports 213 Frisian cattle and 320 Ankole cattle. With zero grazing, a square mile will support 1,280 Frisians and 6,000 Ankole cattle. So you can see how rich I am if I organize things a bit. Zero grazing and the selection of only high milkers is the only way to go. To improve production of quality beef, government has constructed a modern holding ground 5 square miles and an animal quarantine station of 4 square miles to fatten bulls. These bulls will be supplied to the modern export abattoir in Bombo. The fisheries subsector has, through implementation of fisheries management reforms, registered increase by 31% in Nile perch fish stocks, and the fishery is recovering on Lake Victoria. The support fisheries enforcement interventions has led to the opening of 4 factories, part of the 16 which had closed, bringing total to 12 factories now in operation. Because all the factories had closed. Because really, you know, when you put a musaraba on yourself, a cross, and you say, I want to be a leader, voluntarily, nobody has invited you, you just bring yourself. Say, I want to be a leader. Elect me, I want to be a leader. You are bringing yourself a problem. Because if you don't know what to do, God will, why did you take on what you cannot manage? If you don't know, learn. Try to learn. You see, for instance, like the fisheries sector. How could the fisheries sector die when there are leaders there? I quarreled with the elders, the Bataka. How could you allow people to kill your lake by bad fishing? For them, they had a good excuse. They said people who come to do bad fishing are very strong people who can't manage them. And I totally agree with them. The locals could not manage the killers of the lake. But how about the leaders? How about the elected leaders? How about the, you know? Why would they not stand up? Now, I had 2 soldiers because the lake was finished. The soldiers may make their own mistakes because they are not fisheries officers. For them, they were trained for something. Yes? Now, because the people who are supposed to do the work don't do it, they destroy the country. I mobilize them. They come. They may make some mistakes, but the original sin is by the leaders who don't do their work. The extension, Lamera, the extension workers, those are Lutich. They are Lutich. They are Bapakas. They are employees. They are Lutich. Is that how to call it? Yeah, they are Lutich. Those are Bapakas. The owners of the country are the people, and you are their leaders. So, if the Bapakasi, if the Lutich don't do things properly, the ones who can save the country are you. When I was leading my people in 1966, when I was a young boy, they were veterinary people. The experts, they would teach. They were there, but they were not bothered. It was us, we young people, who came up because we were from the people. We were not employees, we were not Bapakas, we were not the Bible. You were in Namgongo the other day. But people go to these attendants, they don't pick the message. Jesus, 2,000 years ago, said the hired hand, the hired shepherd will not stand and defend the sheep when the wolf comes. He will run away. But the owner of the sheep will stand and fight and die to defend the sheep. This is 2,000 years ago. Jesus telling people that the really supporting the private sector, that the one who owns something is the one who cares more about it than the mere employee. So, Lamera, to wait for the Lutich, they can work anywhere. It would be good if they worked, but many of them don't care. It is you who need to care about your uncles, your aunt. Those people who are poor are not necessarily the uncles of this Lutich. They are your uncles. They are the ones who elected you, who sent you. You go and represent us. So these people who killed the lake, and me, I don't even eat fish. I don't eat fish. They say I'm still backward. Yes, but I had to defend the fish for my fish eaters. And my fish eaters are now very happy. But some of the people are saying this and that, criticizing the soldiers. Soldiers are not fisheries people. They may make mistakes. But what was the original mistake? It was the people who were supposed to look after the lake who did not look after it. So now you can see that factories have opened. 12 factories are now operating on Lake Victoria. These people have moved to Lake Kyoga. I was hearing some issues there. And Lake Albert, that one is a chaos there with the Congolese and all those. With Operation Wealth Creation, government has continued to distribute key planting, breeding, and stocking materials, including tea seedlings in Kigezi, Ankole, Rwenzori, Mubende, West Nile, and Bunyoro sub-zones, where over 21,000 acres have been supplied with the materials. Citrus orange seedlings, establishing 109,000 acres for citrus. This is in the Teso area. Mango seedlings, supplying 146,000 acres. Cocoa seedlings, establishing 16,000 acres among others. Government continued to enforce quarantines to curtail unconditional movement of animals, which has reduced the spread of diseases between regions of Uganda. Vaccine and acaricide trials in various disease control zones of the country have been conducted. As a response to the tick resistance to acaricides, government continues to carry out trials of 3 molecules, including vectaclor, bantic, eprinometin, to deal with resistant ticks in the country. The acaricide zoning strategy and implementation plan to manage movement of acaricides across zones after cleansing was rolled out in the 27 affected districts. The anti-tick vaccine and other measures are in progress. We are going to develop, our scientists are developing a vaccine to kill the ticks. We want the ticks to die. The cow, we want to, our scientists think they can develop a vaccine that will enable the cow to kill the tick. The tick has killed our cows for a long time. It is now time for the cows to kill the tick. That is like the emese, okulya kappa, the rat eating the cat. The government has successfully attracted the Sukuru factory in Tororo district. The phosphate fertilizer production plant is expected to produce 50,000 tons, which are projected to grow to 100,000 tons, as the demand continues to grow both locally and beyond our borders. This is in line with the government campaign to cut down on the importation of products that can be made in the country. A comprehensive update of the national soil suitability maps is in the process to help farming communities to understand exactly what kind of fertilizer is suitable for each farming region in Uganda. The bad practice of land fragmentation is equivalent to disabling the land. When I was talking with the councillors in the districts recently, in the zones, I gave them this imagery. We have had people with disability. A person is disabled by some problem. But for us, we say disability does not mean inability. But still, somebody who is disabled can no longer do all the things that he would have done when he was able. Now, this is the same with the land. When you fragment land, you disable it. Like we were talking about the 2 acres. With 2 acres, can you grow cotton? That's why we were saying with 2 acres, you can no longer profitably grow cotton. Let it be grown by somebody who has got more land. You do something else which can. So therefore, we are now going also to create land with disability because of bad inheritance practices. The bad practice of land fragmentation is equivalent to disabling the land. Government continues to encourage families to desist from this retrogressive habit. The family land, which was 4 acres in one generation, becomes half an acre per family because it was shared by 8 children, mainly males, on the death of their parents. What the 4 acres can do, half an acre cannot do. Government instead strongly advises families to start family companies where inheritance should be by shares, amicable. I was in West Nile the Rugubara area, they can no longer grow food. They are now importing food from Congo because the land is so fragmented that they can no longer grow food. And that Rugubara area is one of the most fertile parts of Uganda. That one, of course, has already happened in Kabale. Kabale, long ago, they can no longer produce food. They have to get food from other areas. So how can such things happen when a country has got leaders? I told you how I started fighting in my area, 1966, when I was 21. Because I was reading in the school system. I was reading the history of Europe, the history of this, and when I go back, I check with my people. But Europe is like this. How about us? And I was reading for instance, the enclosure system in UK, when there was this system of enclosing land. And when I go back, I look at my people, I look at my father, I say, my father, but in Europe, they did this. How about us here? Here, we have got leaders who don't help the people to know how to deal with the future. And you are just there, leaders. No, it's a good word, it's not a bad one. No, I didn't say you are dogs. Amashongozyo, let me tell you what it means. Amashongozyo is a wild fruit. So actually, it's a good word. Amashongozyo is a wild fruit. But there are two types. There is the one which is sweet, and there is the one which is embide, which is like embide, like the sour type. So the people, those Majankwere say, the embide one, they say it is fruit for the dogs, but the dogs don't eat it. So they actually, they are just giving a dog which doesn't do. So what I was saying, you cannot be a leader who doesn't help his people. That's what I was saying. That's what the proverb says. Does that improve it? Okay, I withdraw it. But the point is that with the population, you must guide them, because the big problem with our people is tradition. Many of them are still traditional, but they are living in the modern age. My father was a traditional person. He was born in 1916, we estimate, and he was living his traditional way until I went through the school system. And I started hearing about other parts of the world through studies. And when I would go back, I would say, but in Europe they are doing this. How about us here? That's how we were able to alert those people. If you come to Chirhura today, you will find that the land is not as fragmented as in other areas, because I campaigned it. You go there, you can come and make a tour. Because I campaigned land fragmentation. And even recently I was there, deepening the campaign during Easter. If you are not allergic to my writings, bring those documents of mine, my booklets. More. I'll give you a few to the leader of the opposition. if she's not allergic, I am sure she would benefit. With shares, you divide what comes from the land, but the land itself, or even the property, should not be fragmented. Many of the African leaders like to go to Europe. If you go to Europe, you ask them how they handle the question of land. In the UK, only the senior boy inherits land, only one. Yes, the senior boy. You get to that, the other one. In Germany, it is the same. In some of the states of the United States, because people are always going to Europe, what do you go to do there? You should go there to learn best practices. You call it benchmarking. What benchmarking are you doing now? If you go to benchmark, why don't you benchmark on how the Europeans solved the problem of inheritance? Why don't you benchmark? How can you allow your people to commit suicide by destroying the land on which they are living, and you are just there, and that's why I was attempted to quote the other proverb, which I have withdrawn. So in some of the states, in the United States, I think it is South Dakota or something like that, one of them, once a land is 25 acres, the law does not allow you to subdivide it. The law of that state does not allow you to subdivide that land. So how can we be here? We are leaders. And even the resource which God gave us is deteriorating, and we are just here. How can this be? Population is growing. Population. Lambera. Me kwanwa. Kwan to educate. Kwanwa. Kwan you. Ponyorwa. I want Ponyorwa Lamera. The population of UK in 1810 was only 10 million. But at that time there was a man called Alfred Malthus, Reverend Alfred Malthus, who was very worried because the population was already growing. And that's why he started saying you should sterilize women because they are producing too many children. There will be no food for them. But now, Lamera, the population of UK is now 70 million, and they are all much richer than they were in 1810 because they handled the issue of population increase vis-a-vis fixed land size. But here, none of that. None of that. People are talking about the north, the south pole, the what? They are not talking about their own people. With shares, you divide what comes from the land, but the land itself or even the property should not be fragmented. The good news is that a new science of growing crops without soil is being developed. This is called hydroponics. In fact, recently some people came here, they said, we don't want soil. I said, why not? They said, soil is not good. Why? Because it brings diseases into the crops. So we don't need soil. What we need is just water. And this science is called hydroponics, the science of growing crops without soil. In fact, soil is seen as a spoiler because it harbors a lot of plant diseases. You only need water. What I have not grasped is whether all crops can be economically grown in this way. So we shall have to study that, but there is that possibility now. Government will provide post-harvest equipment to farmer groups at sub-county level in order to boost the quality of the produce on farm, and also avoid the increasing and harmful levels of aflatoxins. The government is already undertaking strategic programs to increase pasture production and will partner with the private sector for production of quality and sufficient quantity of animal and poultry feeds. More human and financial resources will be put in enforcement of quarantines in order to stop and control the movement of animals. This will reduce spread of diseases between the different regions of the country. Social transformation entails access to decent shelter by the population in both rural and urban settings, and land as a factor of production is a crucial resource for transformation. To save people from the cumbersome and time-wasting process of traveling to Kampala for land transactions, government has decentralized the lands ministry services. There are 21 ministry zonal offices in different districts within the country. This has greatly benefited the public by taking services closer to them. The ministry zonal offices, after all, serves previous offices offer all services previously provided only at the ministry headquarters. With the computerization of land records, forgeries and graft in land registration system will be reduced and eliminated. Problems of missing land records have been eliminated, and land transactions are more efficient and speedy, thus reducing the cost of doing business. The government took a strategic decision to prioritize the development of the energy infrastructure because it plays a crucial role as a major catalyst for socio-economic development. Over the last 1 year, a total of 206 megawatts was added to the power generation system. Of the new capacity, 183 megawatts was for Isimba Hydropower project, commissioned on the 21st of March 2019. 23.6 megawatts was from the small projects. These small projects are Nyamwamba, 9.2 megawatts, commissioned August 2018, Nkusi, 9.6 megawatts, Waki, 4.8 megawatts. In total, 8 renewable energy projects with total capacity of 87.2 megawatts have been commissioned, while 9 projects with a total of 69 megawatts are still under construction. Karuma Hydropower Station, the project was 93% complete as at the end of March 2019. This project is scheduled to be completed by end of December 2019, and it will produce 600 megawatts. Agago Achwa, it will produce 42 megawatts, and the plant will be commissioned in September 2019. Musizi Hydropower Plant, 48 megawatts. This project is expected to commence in the last quarter of 2019. Nyagak 3, 6.6 megawatts. This project commenced in May 2019 under a public-private partnership framework. When all these projects are completed, our generation capacity will stand at 2,300 megawatts. This is a mere endozo. Endozo is appetizer. You know, in Ntungamo, when the women were selling the local alcohol, and if somebody did not have money, you go from Sarah to Sarah, let me test. Then you go testing, and by the time you have finished all the Sarah, so this 2,300 megawatts, a big distance from, you know, when NRM came into government, that power station at Inya was producing 60 megawatts, 60. But here we are, 2,300 megawatts. And I'm saying this is merely endozo, appetizer. How would they say it in our language? Lamera. How would they say it in our language? Abil. Tia abil keken. Abil keken. You know, you know, this actually used to backbite me.